Roar of a man's voice. Six-fold slash of light. The 6 simultaneous cuts cleaved the demon hordes apart. Six-fold slash of light. Pace of the wind. HNNNNNN. Another 7 demons were slashed through like a hot knife through butter. That sharpness made her think of razor edge, the sword that could cut through anything, and it scared the demons senseless. Kill them all. In time with his wrathful cry, a hedge of spears bristled out from behind Gazef. There was no mistaking the glint of that metal. Countless spears stabbed out from behind Gazef. Those were the royal guard and the knights who defended the royal palace, a force of hundreds of soldiers that looked like they were going to flood the alley. Seeing that they were outnumbered more than 2 to 1, the demon horde's encirclement began to waver. Shouts of joy rang out, and the ragged adventurers began to retreat, covered by the soldiers. Why, what is Stronov-sama doing here? Was he not supposed to stay behind to protect the palace and the royal family? As though in response to Lokyu's words, his face turned in a certain direction. Lokyu's line of sight followed his, and her eyes widened. There were 4 priests and 4 arcane magic casters protecting an old man. Upon his head was the crown which only one person in the kingdom was permitted to bear. His body was clothed in sturdy armor. King Renpasa III. This was a supremely dangerous move. Although his body was protected by plate armor, some demons' attacks could easily pierce steel. Also, even if he were protected, area effect spells that overwhelmed his protectors could still harm the king. And the king was still an ordinary person, so he would probably die if struck by some magic. Even if resurrection spells could be used on him, the king would surely be unable to bear the life force drain it would cause. His Majesty so declared, "Are you to protect this lifeless city, or me?" There can only be one answer to that. To guard the king's body is my duty. That being the case, this is a battlefield where we must fight. Charge. The soldiers let out an earth-shaking cry, and thundered forward. Force clashed against force, but just when everyone thought the tide had turned, the body of an orichalcum-ranked adventurer flew through the air, hitting a nearby wall, and leaving a bright red splatter mark. Ugh. As though saying, "Come get some," the giant demon's body halted the soldiers in their tracks. There were monsters which could not be beaten by mere numbers alone. Stronov-sama. Give me a hand. Of course. The voice that followed Gazef's answer made Lokyu's eyes go wide. Hang on. Don't you need an awesome fighter backing you up? And an excellent ninja to be as well. There was no mistaking these voices. Still, Lokyu's called out in surprise, still barely able to believe her ears. Gagarin. Tia. The 2 of them slowly stepped out in front of her. They were fully armed and ready for battle. Yo. I've gotten stiff from all this sleeping around, so I asked Stronov-san to bring me along. Ready to fight. It should not have been like this. She already told them they were forbidden to fight right after being resurrected. Normally, one would need to get complete bed rest, and even then they would still feel drained. Even so, they knew how important this battle was, which was why they had joined the fight. Getting everyone back together was the biggest boost she could receive. Lokyu's prayed with all her heart. She prayed that Mammon would defeat Jaldabaoth and get rid of the demons in the capital. Lower Fire Month, 9th month, 5th day, 3:46 I see him. Looking ahead, one could see the masked demon standing in the center of the plaza, making no attempt to hide himself. Although she could not see the forms of other demons, Evil Eye was not foolish enough to think that they were not there. Having noticed them approaching, Jaldabaoth turned and bowed elegantly. There could only be one meaning behind this. A trap. What now, Mammon-sama? It doesn't matter what awaits us. We just have to smash it all. Just so. Mammon's tone no longer had its original seriousness and formality, which was probably because their travel together had made them more familiar with each other. With this in mind, Evil Eye began switching to a more casual way of speaking as well. If she kept concealing her true self, when they started going out seriously, they would probably break up right away. So even though revealing her true self might have been too early, taking a more casual tone would probably be a good idea, Evil Eye thought. It seems it's starting right on schedule. From behind, the sound of drums and battle cries rang out. In order to ensure Mammon could fight Jaldabaoth one-on-one, the troops would begin their attack. This was the only chance they had. As such, there was no other way to save the capital other than by defeating Jaldabaoth. Ah, that seems to be the case. It would appear that it's time for the final battle. Mammon-sama, leave the other enemies to myself and Nabe. You should focus all your attention on fighting Jaldabaoth, Mammon-sama. Understood. In that case, since you've come this far with me, when I defeat Jaldabaoth and return in triumph, can I hope that you will stand by my side? Nabe, please work with her. I hope the three of us can return together. Understood, Mammon-san. The three of them landed in front of Jaldabaoth. Evil Eye looked around, and from a house adjoining the plaza, a maid appeared. She wore a mask like the last time she saw her, with a fixed expression. But Evil Eye could feel the hatred directed at her. There's probably more than one of them. Jaldabaoth already knew who was stronger between herself and the insect maid. Now that their side also had Nabe, a magic caster, who might be able to rival him in power, there was no way he would join the battle alone. Was he planning to swamp them in demons, or was there another subordinate of a comparable level waiting in the wings? Both possibilities made Evil Eye break out in a cold sweat. After that maid, more people in masks similar to his appeared. They were all wearing strange maid uniforms. And they numbered 4 of them. There were a total of 5 people with fighting power comparable to herself. 2 against 5 would be far too great a difference in power. The battle seemed unwinnable from the very start. Damn it. I underestimated Jaldabaoth's forces. If this kept up, they would be overwhelmed by sheer numbers, and then the maids would go on to interfere in Mammon and Jaldabaoth's duel. In an evenly matched battle, even a little bit of support could make the difference between victory and defeat, just like that battle with the insect maid. Then I will leave the 5 of them to you. Saying that, Mammon grasped his swords in his hands, striding naturally toward Jaldabaoth. As his mighty back receded from her, Evil Eye's heart filled with sadness. If only she could lose herself in that flowing red cape of his, it would clear away all her unease and frustration. Evil Eye rebuked the part of her that wanted to reach out a hand to him. She had originally come here with the determination to die. Even if her opponents were stronger than expected, she could not do anything as shameful as beg for help. And Mammon's earlier words were clearly a sign of how much he trusted her. A man like him would never be so callous or cruel. Come to think of it, he definitely said something from behind his back. If it was Evil Eye and Nabe, they would definitely be able to hold the enemy back until I won, something like that. A fire blazed up from within the depths of Evil Eye's heart. Then here I come, demon! Mammon roared and slashed at Jaldabaoth. A fierce battle started. In order to keep the other 2 from being drawn in, Mammon pressured Jaldabaoth, slowly forcing him away. Then, I'll take 3 and you take 2, how about that? Are you sure? I'm all right with 3 people too. Humph, Nabe smirked. You take 2, I'll take 3. Evil Eye felt she had a better grasp on Nabe's personality, and smiled. To be more precise, Evil Eye's impression of Nabe as a rival was improving, as a fellow mage who could stand by Mammon's side. Really, if it was just Mammon and Nabe, I could just take off my ring and reveal my true form. Well, first I need to go back alive. You're so stubborn. All right, I get it. I'll take care of these 2 quickly, and then come to support you. Fight like you want to live, what? Evil Eye had the feeling that everyone present, all 5 maids and Nabe, were all looking at her. Something seemed out of place, as though they had already planned out everything in advance. No, there's nothing. After that cold answer, Nabe took the first step to the side. Then, although I said I would handle 3 of them, our opponents will be the one deciding who they will send at us. The ones who were lured out were the insect maid, the twin-braided maid, and the drill-haired maid. The ones who stayed with Evil Eye were the maid with the bund-up hair, and the long-haired maid. My name is Alpha. This is Delta. We shall be your opponents. Are you now? This is all quite formal. My name is Evil Eye. I am the one who shall defeat the two of you. Evil Eye had not intended to prolong the fight with conversation. Had she thought that way, her opponents might have picked up on it and killed her instantly. She had to be patient. Is that so? How scary. Evil Eye's first move was to activate her ace in the hole. It was a special ability that would cause the negative energy flowing through her body to overload and infuse every attack she made with negative status effects. Here I come. With a cry, Evil Eye began her spell. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, lower fire month, 9th month, 5th day, 359. Don't look down on me. The negative energy-infused crystals sprayed out at the running maid, Alpha. This was a bludgeoning and piercing physical attack, and the negative energy would drain her life force. At least it should have. However, Alpha kept running, with no sign that she had been hit at all. Coup. Evil Eye took to the sky. Close combat was a very bad idea for an arcane magic caster. Putting more distance between them would increase her chances of victory. As she floated into the sky, something bounced away before her eyes. It must have been an attack deflected by her crystal shield, but at the same time, the sparkling light wrapping her body began dimming rapidly. Although it could neutralize fairly powerful attacks, she would be lucky if the only things they threw at her were things the crystal shield could negate by itself. The crystal shield would only work against attacks below a certain level, and it was completely useless for anything more. Again? The one using ranged weapons was the maid in the rear, Delta. She had fired on Evil Eye when she was flying earlier. Ha! Alpha's spirits rose as she lunged at Evil Eye. It made her click her tongue. Normally, Evil Eye would not even take anyone coming at her with their bare fists seriously, but that was only the arrogance she felt toward the insignificant beings who had always been beneath her. Shortly after fighting with Alpha, she was keenly aware of that. Alpha was truly a fearsome opponent. Every time she tried to open a gap between them, her opponent would come in swinging, several times faster than herself. If she took a direct hit without the protection of her barrier, she would be destroyed. If she was still with Gagarin and Tia, she would not have been so careless. Now, Evil Eye felt like she was walking on a tightrope. The most annoying thing was their flawless coordination. Teamwork could greatly increase the fighting power of adventurers. Right now, the two of them were giving her an object lesson in jolly cooperation. Shit. How can demons work together so well? What the hell? I have no right to say that, Evil Eye thought. The others in her party were humans, but she was one of the undead. A gang sound rang out, and the protective, crystal shield, grew ever thinner. One more hit, and it would be pierced. Evil Eye cursed, trying to get away from Alpha, who was intent on chasing her down and beating her up. Although Evil Eye's body was superior to a normal human's by virtue of being a vampire, Alpha's physical abilities were even better than hers. The only reason why Alpha had not caught her already was entirely because of her fly spell. Using magic required focus, during which the body could not move. As a result, having to constantly back away was very difficult. Movement would disrupt one's sense of balance and make concentration difficult. This was why magic casters stood still to cast their spells. Because of this, Evil Eye had chosen to use fly to maintain a distance without disrupting her concentration, and thus fight a mobile battle. That was nothing special by itself. Any magic caster who could use fly had mastered that tactic. How well they did it was a matter of talent, but as a vampire, Evil Eye had the natural ability to fly and 250 years of experience to master it in. Even so, it took effort to escape from Alpha. And although she could kite one opponent in circles in the large plaza, there were two opponents. Another gang sound rang out, and the barrier protecting her was completely destroyed. It was hard to believe anything could break the crystal shield in 3 hits, but there was nothing to be done about it. Sand field, all. Sand particles dispersed throughout the surroundings. Although Delta was too far away to reach, Alpha was completely caught in the area. Because it would affect one's comrades too, this spell was useless in a group fight. Any opponent within its area would be immobilized, as well as being blinded, silenced and dazed. On top of that, because of Evil Eye's trump card, the sand was infused with negative energy that would drain life force. This 5th-tier spell was her own creation. It was one of the strongest cards Evil Eye had up her sleeve. However, Alpha did not slow down, nor did she look like she was hurt at all. But how? Was she immune to immobilization and negative energy? You deserve praise for that. What a splendid set of resistances. Alpha's answer was to blur into a haze. As though she had performed a short-range teleport, she materialized in front of Evil Eye and kicked her in the face. Her mask cracked with a Mickey sound as Evil Eye was flung far away. She bounced off the floor with a dang before she managed to recover, groggily shaking her head. Crystal wall. Alpha's fist collided with the suddenly materialized crystal wall, producing a thunderous crash. Cracks spread where Alpha had struck it, as though it had been hit by a wrecking ball. Humph. Another dang rang out, and as Alpha's foot struck the ground, she transmitted her inner force into the cracks in Evil Eye's wall, and it crumbled before her eyes. Is this F.A. Jean? TL, yes, she uses a wuxia term. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/FA_Jean. At this moment, while trying to clear some distance with her fly spell, Evil Eye felt a great tremor run through the earth. She did not know where it came from, but her instinct told her that it was the aftershocks of the battle of those two. Are they still fighting? No, most likely their fight has reached its climax. That means, I have to buy more time. As she said that, Evil Eye charged at the attacking Alpha. She just needed a little bit longer. She had to drag this fight out. With that in mind, Evil Eye fully prepared herself for death and carried out her kamikaze attack. Alpha's hands were moving in circles in preparation to receive Evil Eye. She stood tall, like an invulnerable fortress, but even seeing this, Evil Eye did not stop. Diamond suit, lower fire month, 9th month, 5th day, 3:53. While Ains and Jaldabaoth struggled with each other, they crashed into a house. The door shattered as Ains drove Jaldabaoth into it, scattering splinters everywhere. The interior was dark and cramped, unsuited for Ains to swing his sword. Ignoring Jaldabaoth, Ains rose to his feet and walked off. Jaldabaoth got up as well and followed him. They entered another room, with a small table, 2 chairs, and Mare. Mare pulled up a chair for Ains to sit. Then, with Ains' permission, Jaldabaoth removed his mask, revealing Demiurge's face. Firstly, is this room secure? Ains asked. There is no problem. The words spoken here are for our ears alone. Is that so? Well then. First off, I have a favor to ask of you. Do not harm the guards I passed on the way here. While this place is fairly distant from Irantal, helping people in distress is good publicity. Understood. Will it be acceptable to transmit orders by telepathy? Go ahead. In the meantime, tell me about your plan. Even though Demiurge had already explained the plan to Narbril via message, she had not told him anything about it yet. He was forced to remain silent and not express his displeasure in order to make sure the plan was not ruined, but in his heart he was worried about it. Very well. This operation has 4 main objectives, Ho. I only counted 3. 4, you say? Demiurge smiled. It was a smile of smug satisfaction. I feel as though I have gotten the better of Ains-sama for once. Ains magnanimously waved his hand. Of course, he did not even know what the first 3 were, but Demiurge's words still made him uneasy all over. You've always been one step ahead. I've got a long way to go. What are you saying, my liege? Truly, you are too humble. No, really, forget it. Then, tell me about these objectives. Indeed. To begin with, the objective of attacking the warehouse district was to secure the wealth and goods within and transport them to Nazareth. To facilitate this, I had Sheltier open, gate, in front of the warehouses, and let Pandora's actor handle the matter of transportation. This was a very profitable objective indeed. Ains silently praised Demiurge from the bottom of his heart. Losing so much wealth would make life in the royal capital more difficult in the future, but at this point in time, Ains had no way of knowing that. Right now, all he felt was relief that the problem of funds was solved for the moment. The second is to cover up our involvement in our attacks on the hideouts of the Eight Fingers in the area. As you have no doubt surmised, a direct attack on the Eight Fingers hideout would arouse suspicion. If we are unlucky, it might even lead to the exposure of Sebas and his contacts. As such, we expanded the area of operations in order to make others think our true aims lay elsewhere. In other words, they were using torn-off branches to conceal themselves in the forest. But can you do this? What will you use to convince them that you had another objective? Please take a look at this, my liege. Demiurge gestured, and Mare brought in a bag, which he opened. Inside was a statue of a demon. Each of the demon's 6 arms were grasped a different kind of jewel. A strange, pulsing light radiated from within. These jewels are imbued with the spell known as Armageddon Evil. The 10th tier spell, Armageddon Evil, was one that summoned a demon army. Although it could summon a massive amount of troops, each individual demon not very powerful. And if angels were hard to control, demons were even worse, with their tendency to go berserk at the worst possible moments, making it a very difficult spell to use. The normal usage capitalized on the fact that the summoned demons were not allies, by default, so they could serve as live sacrifices for certain rituals and skills. Much like how Shaltir used her spute lance to kill her own summoned minions, this magic existed for a similar purpose. Though this item was created by Ulbert Sama, I feel it would be best used here. From the perspective of this world, it would make sense that an item like this would draw Jaldabaoth's attention. Ains recalled the past. It was about a friend called Ulbert, back when the guild's power was at its peak. Originally, there had been a world-class item, which could summon an unlimited number of demons that would eventually consume the entire world. Although that would cause a huge disturbance, Ulbert had been overjoyed when he heard about it and strove to create an item to imitate it. But when it turned out the item could not cast 6 spells simultaneously, he lost interest in it and gave up. It was plain to see that Demiurge was reluctant to give up a possession like this. That was because it was a relic of his creator. Ains reached his hand into a pocket dimension and withdrew a certain item. Demiurge, there is no need to use that. Take this as a substitute. The device Ains withdrew looked similar to the demon statue Demiurge had prepared. However, its hands only held 3 gems, and it looked cruder in general. This was also a device made by Ulbert-san. Because it was a prototype, he wanted to dispose of it, but I thought that it was too much of a waste and kept it. How about using this instead? How could I expend your treasures for my own schemes, Ains-sama? Is that how you see it? Very well, then. Demiurge, this is yours. Use it as you see fit. However, don't you think Ulbert-san might be embarrassed that his failed experiment was still around? How can I express my gratitude to you for gifting me with such a wondrous magic item? Demiurge rose from his chair and knelt on the floor. Mare, seeing him, frantically knelt down beside him. Enough, Demiurge. Do you not have something else to do? Think of this as a token of my appreciation for your loyalty. We guardians were created by the supreme beings. As such, until the very moment of our extinction, we shall be utterly loyal to them. Even so, you have not only bestowed your mercy and care upon us in abundance, but you have even given into my keeping such a valuable treasure. Although I, Demiurge, have already sworn his complete and undying loyalty to you, permit me to once more offer my faithful service unto you, Ains-sama. Well then, I shall look forward to your loyal service. Now, stand up. Demiurge. You had something else to say, no? Indeed I did. My sincerest apologies. Demiurge sat back down, and Mare returned to his standby position. Then, as I said earlier, Jaldabaoth targeted the hideouts of the Eight Fingers, and then proceeded to take control of the kingdom's warehouse district. Seizing the resources of the warehouses was also an aim. Naturally, this device created by Ulbert Sama will be found in one of the hideout's coffers. That much is clear now. And what about the third objective? Yes. I have already transported roughly half the humans within this firewall into Nazareth. There are many uses they can be put to, and the blame for this will fall squarely on the demon Jaldabaoth. So that was what he was up to, Ains thought, but he still had some questions. Was there a benefit to letting Jaldabaoth's villainy grow? Rather, instead of inventing the character of Jaldabaoth, would it not have been better to let some other demon do it? So you intend to build infamy, then? That is correct. The intention is to place Jaldabaoth upon the throne of the Demon King. Now I see. So accomplishing my order was part of your plan, then? Ains looked at Demiurge, who was bowing low to acknowledge that that was the case. He remembered the order he had given. He had handed out several of them, and one of them was to give rise to a Demon King. This touches on the fourth objective, which is to use this incident as a proving ground for our actions in the Holy Kingdom. At that moment, Ains understood. He asked a question which had been weighing on his mind. Come to think of it, were these demons summoned from Nazareth? How could I? I would not dream of doing so without your leave, Ains Sama. Given that I entrusted the task to you, and you received Albedo's permission, I thought you would have used the forces of Nazareth. No, my lord. Those were merely the summons of my evil lords. After a day has passed, they can be called forth again. The net loss to Nazareth is 0. Is that so? I see why there are so many demons without memories in Nazareth. No matter, I understand. Then, another question, you said you sent every human here to Nazareth. That was regardless of whether they were male, female, young or old, correct? Ains was vaguely upset by the way Demiurge could so easily and casually answer in the affirmative. Humans were irrelevant. Perhaps Ains had once been a human, but this body he had now felt no sympathy or closeness to them. It was as though they were a whole other species that could be casually kicked out of the way with one foot. He would slaughter any number of humans for the benefit of the great underground tomb of Nazareth. Even then, killing children still upset him. This was a vestige of the man who had once been Suzuki Satoru. Ains took a deep breath, despite having no lungs, and exhaled heavily. Demiurge. If a person has not given offense to myself or the great underground tomb of Nazareth, they shall be slain swiftly, and without suffering. Demiurge bowed deeply, without saying a word. Ains Ulgaun's priority was to ensure the stability and loyalty of his subordinates. Since they had brought children back with them, releasing them safely would mean the details of Nazareth would escape with them. While it might be possible to raise them into zealots who were slavishly loyal to Nazareth, there were very few benefits to such a plan at the moment. As such, this was the greatest mercy he could give them. Then, are we done here? There are 2 more matters for your consideration. Firstly, Mare has given us an excellent opportunity. Ains turned his vision toward Mare, the nervous, fidgety boy. And that would be? At the moment, we are still in the training phase, so the exact degree of success is debatable. I shall elaborate further when we return to Nazareth. Secondly, from my observations of the situation thus far, it is very likely that the ones who brainwashed Shaltir have no connection with the kingdom. I understand. Then, I look forward to receiving your help soon. It will be gladly given. During our battle afterwards, please feel free to defeat me. I would do anything for you, Ains Sama. I see. Then, before I drive you off, could you damage my armor? It will be more convincing if I bear the signs of a hard fight. That is to say, you will remove it, and then I will damage it? It is unthinkable for one such as myself to dare raise a hand against